I found a message on our shared iPad that destroyed 32 years of marriage. But the revenge I pulled off after that went viral on TikTok with 50 million views. He's still finding glitter in impossible places. And it's been 8 months. But that wasn't even the worst part. You know that feeling when your whole world shifts in 1 second? When something you thought was solid as bedrock just crumbles? That's what happened to me, Margaret Thompson, on a Tuesday morning in October. I was 60 years old, married for 32 years, and I thought I knew everything about my life. I was wrong. And what I discovered next would change everything I thought I knew about revenge. Let me paint you a picture of who I was before that Tuesday. Margaret Thompson, Maggie to my friends. The kind of woman who had dinner on the table at 6 p.m. sharp, who organized the church bake sale every year, who ironed my husband Robert's shirts with military precision. I was proud of our life, proud of our beautiful suburban home in Ohio, proud that Robert had built his accounting firm from nothing, proud that we were the couple everyone looked up to. You know those couples? The ones who seemed to have it all figured out? That was us. Robert and I were the golden couple of Maple Street. Married young, built a business together, weathered every storm. I was the woman behind the successful man, and I wore that title like a badge of honor. But I had no idea that my perfect life was about to become the perfect weapon. Robert and I met in college back in 1989. He was studying business, I was getting my teaching degree. But when we got married in 1991, we decided I'd focus on making a home while he built his career. Just for a few years, he said, until we get established. Those few years turned into 3 decades. And I was okay with that. Really, I was. I found purpose in being the perfect wife, the perfect hostess, the perfect support system. When Robert's business took off in the late 90s, I was right there beside him, entertaining clients, organizing company parties, being the charming wife who made everyone feel welcome. What I didn't know was that all those years of organizing events would teach me skills I'd never expected to use. I knew every client's name, their spouse's name, their kids' birthdays. I remembered who was allergic to shellfish and who preferred red wine over white. I was Robert's secret weapon in business, the woman who made deals happen over perfectly prepared dinner parties. I also knew every building system, every security code, every cleaning schedule. Because when you're organizing events for 30 years, you learn how everything works. But that Tuesday morning changed everything. I was making Robert's coffee, same as every morning for 32 years, when our shared iPad chimed with a message notification. We'd always shared devices. What did we have to hide from each other, right? I glanced at the screen to see if it was something important. The message was from someone named Jess with a heart symbol, and it said, "Can't wait for tonight. Same hotel?" With a kiss symbol. My hand froze on the coffee pot. Jess? We didn't know any Jess, and that heart symbol, that kiss symbol. What I found next would make my blood run cold. I opened the message thread with shaking fingers, and there it was. Months of messages. Photos I won't describe, plans for secret meetings. My husband of 32 years telling this woman things he'd never said to me, promising her things he'd never promised me. Missing you already, beautiful. Can't stop thinking about last night. You make me feel young again. Each message was like a knife to my chest. But I kept reading. I had to know. I had to see the full scope of this betrayal. And that's when I found something that changed everything. The coffee pot slipped from my hand and shattered on the kitchen floor. But I barely heard it. I was too busy reading message after message that proved my marriage was a lie. There were hotel receipts, restaurant reservations, even a jewelry purchase from Tiffany's, a bracelet I'd never seen, for a woman who wasn't me. But the worst part? The dates. This had been going on for over a year. Robert came downstairs, adjusting his tie like he did every morning. "What was that crash?" he asked, then saw the broken coffee pot. "Maggie, be more careful. I've got that big client meeting today. I can't be late." I held up the iPad. "Who's Jess?" The color drained from his face faster than water down a drain. For a moment, just a moment, I saw panic in his eyes. Then something else took over. Something cold. Something calculating. Maggie, let's not make this dramatic. Dramatic? 32 years of marriage, and he was worried about drama? What happened next still makes my blood boil. Robert didn't deny it, didn't apologize, didn't even try to explain. Instead, he sat down at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared thousands of meals, and told me this was just how things were. Maggie, you're 60 years old. This is what happens in marriages like ours. You think I'm the only man in our neighborhood who has arrangements? Grow up. Arrangements. He called his affair an arrangement. Look around you, he continued, gesturing to our beautiful kitchen, our expensive appliances, our perfect suburban life. You've had a good life? Nice house, nice car, nice clothes. Don't rock the boat over something that doesn't really affect you. I stared at this man I'd loved for over 3 decades. This man I'd sacrificed my career for, my dreams for, my independence for. And he was telling me to accept his betrayal like it was a household expense. Besides, he said, standing up and grabbing his briefcase, what are you going to do? You haven't worked in 30 years. You have no skills, no income, no independence. This is your life, Maggie. Make peace with it. That's when he delivered the final blow. If it bothers you so much, he said, straightening his tie in the hallway mirror, feel free to get your revenge. Do whatever makes you feel better. Just don't embarrass me publicly. He kissed my forehead, and walked out the door. That's when I knew. Robert had made the biggest mistake of his life, because he'd just given me permission to destroy him. And honey, I was about to take that permission and run with it. But first, I had to figure out who this Jess really was. And what I discovered would make my revenge so much sweeter. After Robert left, I sat in that kitchen for 2 hours, staring at the broken coffee pot. 32 years of my life, shattered just like that glass. But you know what? Sometimes when something breaks, it gives you sharp edges to work with. I wasn't going to cry. Well, I did cry, for about 10 minutes. But then I got angry. And anger, I discovered, was so much more useful than tears. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to accept this arrangement like some 1950s housewife who had no other choice. I was going to make Robert regret every single word he just said to me. But how do you hurt a man who thinks he's untouchable? How do you embarrass someone who told you not to embarrass him publicly? That's when I remembered something I'd seen on social media. A young woman who'd caught her boyfriend cheating and covered his car in glitter. The comments were hilarious, people talking about how impossible glitter is to clean, how it gets everywhere, how it's basically craft herpes. Craft herpes. I liked that. But I wasn't some 20-something with a cheating boyfriend and a bag of craft store glitter. I was a 60-year-old woman with resources, time, and 32 years of suppressed anger. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. And I had advantages Robert didn't know about. You see, back in my teaching days, I'd specialized in elementary art education. I knew more about craft supplies than most people knew about their own jobs. I understood adhesion, particle size, static electricity. I knew which materials stuck to what, and more importantly, which ones never came off. I spent the next 3 days researching glitter like I was writing a doctoral thesis. Did you know there are different types, different sizes, different adhesive properties? I learned about ultrafine glitter, the kind that's so small it becomes airborne, the kind that sticks to everything and spreads like a beautiful, sparkly virus. I researched the physics of it, how it clings to fabric fibers, how it embeds in carpet, how it gets into air conditioning systems and spreads through entire buildings. I learned about static electricity and how glitter uses it to stick to surfaces you'd never expect. But here's what made me dangerous. I also knew building systems. 30 years of organizing events had taught me about ventilation, security, cleaning schedules. I knew how buildings worked because I'd had to work around them. I drove to 5 different craft stores across 3 counties, buying a little from each so no one would remember the crazy lady buying industrial quantities of glitter. I got every color, but I focused on gold. Because if Robert wanted to act like he was worth his weight in gold, I was going to make sure he looked the part. 20 pounds of glitter. That's what I ended up with. 20 pounds of the finest, most adhesive, most impossible to clean glitter money could buy. I even bought some biodegradable glitter because I'm not a monster. I care about the environment, but I didn't stop there. I studied Robert's routine like a detective. I knew he left for work at 7:30 a.m. sharp. I knew he came home at 6:15 p.m. I knew he went to the gym on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I knew he had lunch at the country club every Wednesday. I knew he met Jess at the Marriott downtown every Friday. And I knew something else. Something that would make this revenge absolutely perfect. See, I'd done some digging on this Jess character. Jessica Martinez, 35 years old, Robert's secretary for the past 2 years. The same Jessica who'd been so sweet to me at the company Christmas party, telling me how lucky Robert was to have such a wonderful wife. The same Jessica who'd helped me plan Robert's surprise 60th birthday party just 6 months ago. She'd been so helpful, so enthusiastic. "Mr. Thompson is such a wonderful man," she'd said. "You're so lucky to have him." But that wasn't the worst part. Oh no. What I found next made my blood boil. The betrayal cut deeper than I expected. It wasn't just my husband who'd been lying to me. It was someone I'd trusted. Someone I'd been kind to, someone who'd looked me in the eye and smiled while she was sleeping with my husband. But here's what Robert and Jessica didn't know. I still had access to everything. The shared calendar, the company credit card statements, even the security system at Robert's office. Because who pays attention to the wife who's been handling the administrative side of things for decades? I could see their patterns. Friday afternoons at the Marriott. Tuesday, client dinners that were really dinners for two at expensive restaurants. Even a weekend trip to Chicago that Robert had told me was a business conference. The hotel bill showed 2 guests, 2 bathrobes, champagne service. The more I learned, the angrier I got. And the angrier I got, the more elaborate my plan became. You want to know what really hurt? It wasn't just the cheating. It was remembering all the times I'd put Robert first. All the sacrifices I'd made that he'd just forgotten. Like when I gave up my teaching job because Robert said his business needed more attention. "Just temporarily," he'd said, "until we get established." That was 1995. I never went back. I'd loved teaching. I was good at it. I had kids writing thank you notes years later telling me how I'd changed their lives. But Robert needed me to be available for client dinners, business trips, networking events. So I gave it up. Or when my mother was dying of cancer in 2018 and Robert couldn't take time off for the funeral because he had important client meetings. I sat alone at my mother's bedside, holding her hand while my husband was probably planning his next business expansion, or his next affair. Or the time I wanted to go back to school, get my master's degree, maybe start my own tutoring business. Robert had laughed. Actually laughed. "Maggie, you're 45. What's the point? We're doing fine as we are. Why rock the boat?" I'd swallowed my dreams, my ambitions, my independence, all for a man who was now telling me to accept his affair like it was the weather. Well, Robert was about to learn that this 60-year-old woman still had some fight left in her. But first, I needed to understand my enemy. And by enemy, I mean Jessica. I started following her social media. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. The girl documented everything. I learned she lived in a trendy apartment downtown, drove a red Mazda, and had a small dog named Sparkles. The irony wasn't lost on me. She posted constantly about her amazing life and her incredible job. Photos of expensive dinners, designer handbags, weekend trips. All funded, I realized, by my husband's guilt money. But what really got to me were the posts about finding love when you least expect it, and age is just a number. She was posting inspirational quotes about following your heart while she was destroying mine. And then I found something that changed everything about my plan. Jessica had posted a video on TikTok about office life and working for amazing bosses. In the background, clear as day, was Robert's office. She'd been filming herself at work, showing off her glamorous life as a secretary. That's when I realized something. Jessica wasn't just sleeping with my husband, she was documenting it. She was proud of it. She thought she was winning. She had no idea what was coming for her. Friday morning, I watched Robert leave for work, knowing he'd be meeting Jessica that afternoon. Perfect. They'd both be out of the office, giving me plenty of time to work. I'd made copies of Robert's office keys years ago. Someone had to be able to get in if there was an emergency, right? And I knew the security code because I'd helped him set it up. I knew the building layout because I'd been to countless company parties there. I knew the cleaning schedule because I'd coordinated with the janitorial service for special events. I loaded my car with bags of glitter, a small fan, some tools, and a few other supplies. I felt like a spy on a mission. A very sparkly, very angry spy. But as I drove to Robert's office building, I realized something. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about reclaiming my power. This was about showing Robert and myself that I wasn't the helpless housewife he thought I was. I was about to become a force of nature, a very glittery force of nature. And honey, Robert had no idea what was coming for him. But what happened next would surprise even me. Walking into Robert's office building that Friday afternoon felt like stepping into enemy territory. But I belonged there. I'd been to countless company parties, client meetings, holiday celebrations. The security guard, Frank, even waved at me. "Afternoon, Mrs. Thompson. Mr. Thompson in?" "Oh no, Frank. He's at that big client meeting downtown. I just need to drop off some papers he forgot." Frank didn't question it. Why would he? I was the devoted wife, the woman who'd been bringing homemade cookies to the office for years, the woman who remembered his grandson's birthday and always asked about his wife's arthritis. Robert's office was on the 3rd floor, corner suite with windows overlooking the parking lot. The same office I'd helped him decorate when he'd gotten promoted. The same office where I'd surprised him with lunch countless times, only to find him too busy to eat with me. Now I wondered how many of those times he'd been texting Jessica. I stood in that office, looking at his mahogany desk, his leather chair, his wall of achievements, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Power. But what I found in his desk drawer made me realize this revenge needed to be even bigger. I started with his desk drawers, every single one. I opened them up and poured glitter inside, making sure to get it into every corner, every crevice. His pens, his business cards, his reading glasses, everything got a generous coating of gold sparkle. But I was strategic about it. I didn't just dump glitter everywhere. I worked it into the mechanisms of his desk drawers, so every time he opened them, a little puff would escape. I put it inside his stapler, his tape dispenser, even his coffee mug. Then I moved to his filing cabinets. Client files, tax documents, contracts, all of them got the glitter treatment. I was particularly generous with the files marked Martinez, Jessica's employee records. Let them try to explain why her personnel file was sparkling. His computer keyboard got special attention. I worked glitter into every key, every gap. I put it in his mouse, his phone, even the spaces between his monitor and its stand. Every time he touched anything, he'd get a little golden reminder of what he'd done. But the real masterpiece was his chair. I unscrewed the bottom, filled the hollow space with glitter, and screwed it back together. Every time he sat down, every time he adjusted his position, a little puff of gold would escape. It would be subtle at first, but it would build up over time. And then I had my stroke of genius. The air conditioning vent. Robert's office had a large air conditioning vent right above his desk. I climbed onto his chair, the same chair where he'd probably made plans with Jessica, and carefully removed the vent cover. I poured 2 full pounds of ultrafine glitter into that vent. 2 pounds of the finest, most airborne glitter I could find. Every time the air conditioning kicked on, every time someone opened a door and created air movement, that glitter would circulate through the entire office. But I wasn't done. Oh no, I was just getting started. I moved to the conference room where Robert held his important client meetings. More glitter in the chairs, in the presentation equipment, even in the water pitcher. I imagined him trying to impress potential clients while golden sparkles floated through the air like fairy dust. I put glitter in the coffee machine, the copy machine, even the office plants. I worked it into the carpet fibers, knowing that every footstep would release a little more sparkle into the air. The bathroom got special treatment. Glitter in the soap dispenser, the paper towel holder, even the toilet paper roll. Every basic human function would become a glittery experience. But then I found something that made me realize I needed to take this even further. In Jessica's desk, yes, I had access to that too, I found a folder labeled Future Plans. Inside were printouts of houses for sale, wedding dress photos, and a resignation letter dated 6 months in the future. Jessica wasn't just having an affair. She was planning to steal my husband completely. That's when I decided this revenge needed to go viral. Robert's precious BMW was parked in his reserved spot, the same spot he'd fought the building management to get. He was so proud of that car, washing it every weekend, treating it better than he'd treated me in years. I had a spare key. Of course I did. I was the wife who handled everything. I opened every door, popped the trunk, even opened the hood. Glitter went everywhere. In the seats, in the cup holders, in the air vents, in the glove compartment. I even put some in his spare tire well, just because I could. But I was methodical about it. I put glitter in his seat adjustment mechanisms, so every time he moved his seat, more would fall out. I worked it into the fabric of his floor mats, his seat covers, even his steering wheel cover. The air conditioning system got special treatment. I turned the car on, set the AC to full blast, and poured glitter directly into the intake vents. Every time Robert turned on the air or heat, he'd get a face full of sparkle. I put glitter in his windshield washer fluid reservoir. Every time he cleaned his windshield, golden sparkles would spray across the glass. I put it in his cup holders, his door handles, even his rearview mirror adjustment. But the piece de resistance was his gym bag in the trunk. Robert was vain about his appearance, still trying to maintain his college physique at 62. His gym clothes, his towel, his shampoo, his protein powder, everything got glittered. I even put glitter in his water bottle, his headphones, and his gym shoes. Every workout would become a sparkling experience. And that's when I had the idea that would change everything. Back home, I had a few hours before Robert returned from his client meeting with Jessica. Time to add some sparkle to our domestic life. I started with his closet. Every suit, every shirt, every tie got a light dusting of glitter worked into the fabric. Not enough to see immediately, but enough to transfer to everything he touched. I was careful here. I didn't want it to be obvious. I worked the glitter deep into the fabric fibers, especially around the collar and cuffs where it would transfer to his skin and other surfaces. His pillow got special attention. I carefully opened the seam, poured in a cup of glitter, and sewed it back up. Every night, every time he moved his head, tiny sparkles would escape and work their way into his hair, his skin, his pajamas. His shampoo bottle was easy. Just unscrew the top, add glitter, shake well. His conditioner, his body wash, his toothpaste, everything in his bathroom got the treatment. I put glitter in his razor, his aftershave, his cologne. I worked it into his towels, his bathrobe, even his slippers. Every morning routine would become a glittery affair. But my favorite touch was his briefcase. I emptied it completely, coated the inside with glitter, and put everything back exactly as it was. Every document he pulled out, every pen he grabbed, would carry a little golden reminder of what he'd done. I put glitter in his wallet, his keys, even his reading glasses case. Everything he touched on a daily basis would become a vector for spreading the sparkle. As I finished my work, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: satisfaction. Not just from the revenge, but from taking action, from refusing to be the victim, from fighting back. Robert thought he could dismiss me, humiliate me, tell me to accept his betrayal like a good little wife. He was about to learn how wrong he was. But what happened next would exceed even my wildest expectations. Saturday morning, I woke up early to make breakfast, just like always. I wanted to see Robert's reaction when he discovered my handiwork. I didn't have to wait long. "Margaret, what the hell is this?" Robert's voice echoed from the bathroom, and I smiled into my coffee cup. I walked upstairs to find him standing in front of the mirror, his face and hair covered in fine gold glitter. "What's what, honey?" I asked innocently. "There's glitter everywhere, in my shampoo, on my toothbrush, all over my face," He was frantically trying to wash it off, but anyone who's ever dealt with glitter knows the truth. Water just makes it stick better. "Oh my," I said, examining his sparkly reflection. "How strange. Maybe it's from that craft fair I went to last week. You know how that stuff gets everywhere." Robert spent an hour in the shower trying to get the glitter off. When he finally came downstairs, he still had sparkles in his eyebrows and behind his ears. He looked like a very angry fairy godfather. "This is ridiculous, Margaret. I have golf with the Hendersons today. I can't show up looking like I fell into a craft store." "I'm sure it'll wash out eventually," I said, buttering my toast. "Maybe try dish soap? I hear that works for getting things out." But what Robert didn't know was that this was just the beginning. Robert spent the entire weekend trying different cleaning methods. Dish soap, makeup remover, even olive oil. Nothing worked. The glitter had bonded with his skin and hair like it was meant to be there. He called in sick to golf. He canceled dinner with the neighbors. He spent the weekend looking like a disco ball, getting more frustrated by the hour. And that's when I decided to document everything. Monday morning was when the real fun began. I got a call from Robert around 9 a.m. "Margaret, something's wrong with my office. There's glitter everywhere. Did you do something when you dropped off those papers?" "Papers? What papers, dear?" "Frank said you came by Friday to drop off papers I forgot." I think Frank might be confused. I was at book club Friday afternoon. You can ask Linda Morrison. There was silence on the other end. I could practically hear the wheels turning in Robert's head, trying to figure out how his office had become a glitter bomb. "The cleaning crew must have had an accident," he finally said. "I'll call the building management." But it wasn't just his office. The glitter had spread through the ventilation system exactly as I'd planned. The conference room, the break room, even the reception area had a fine coating of gold sparkle. His secretary, not Jessica, she'd mysteriously called in sick Monday and Tuesday, was finding glitter on her desk, her computer, even her lunch. Other employees were starting to complain about the glitter contamination in the office. And that's when I knew it was time to take this public. By Tuesday, Robert was starting to panic. The glitter wasn't going away. It was spreading. Every time he sat in his chair, opened a file, or touched his keyboard, more sparkles appeared. His clothes were transferring glitter to everything he touched. The copy machine was producing sparkly documents. The coffee machine was brewing glittery coffee. Even the office plants were starting to shimmer. Robert hired a professional cleaning service. They came in with industrial vacuums and special equipment, charging him $2,000 for a deep clean. But here's the thing about ultrafine glitter. It's basically impossible to completely remove. The cleaning crew got most of it, but enough remained to keep the sparkle alive. "It's like it's reproducing," one of the cleaners told Robert. "Every time we think we got it all, more appears." And then there was his car. Oh, his precious BMW. Every time he got in, every time he turned on the air conditioning, glitter would swirl around the interior like a snow globe. His gym bag was a disaster zone. He'd opened it at the country club, and glitter had exploded everywhere, covering the locker room floor and earning him some very strange looks from his golf buddies. "Thompson's going through some kind of midlife crisis," I heard one of them say. "Started wearing glitter to the gym. It's embarrassing." But the real entertainment was about to begin. Wednesday evening, I was watering my garden when I heard Robert on the phone in his study. The window was open, and his voice carried clearly across the yard. "Jess, I don't know what's happening. It's like I'm cursed or something. There's glitter everywhere I go." A pause. "What do you mean it's at your place too? How is that possible?" Another pause, longer this time. "Your couch? Your car? But how? Oh no. It's transferring from my clothes, isn't it?" I smiled as I watered my roses. Poor Jessica was learning the hard way that when you sleep with a married man, sometimes you get more than you bargained for. "Can you help me figure this out? Maybe we can clean your place together this weekend?" And that's when I knew my plan was working even better than I'd hoped. Robert was going to drag his mistress into his glittery nightmare, and she was going to see exactly what kind of man she'd chosen to have an affair with. But what happened next would make this story go viral worldwide. Thursday morning, I got a call from my neighbor, Linda Morrison. "Maggie, is everything okay? I saw Robert leaving for work this morning, and he was sparkling. Oh, that, I said casually. He's been having some issues with a craft project at work. You know how these things can get out of hand. A craft project? At an accounting firm? Team building exercise, I said smoothly. Something about thinking outside the box. Very modern management techniques. Linda didn't sound convinced, but she didn't push it. Small-town gossip would handle the rest. By Thursday afternoon, the rumors were spreading through our neighborhood faster than the glitter was spreading through Robert's life. I heard whispers at the grocery store, saw pointing fingers at the post office. Did you see Robert Thompson this morning? He was covered in glitter. Maybe it's some kind of medical condition? I heard he's having a breakdown. His wife seems fine, though. Saw her at book club, normal as ever. And that's when I decided it was time to let the world in on my secret. Thursday evening, Robert came home looking defeated. The glitter situation was getting worse, not better. He'd tried everything: new clothes, professional cleaning, even a different car from the rental agency. But somehow the glitter kept finding him. "Margaret," he said, sitting down at our kitchen table, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." "Of course, dear. What is it? Did you do this? The glitter, I mean. Is this your revenge?" I looked at my husband of 32 years, this man who'd betrayed me and then told me to accept it, and I smiled. "Robert, you told me I could get my revenge. I'm just following your advice." "But how? How did you do all this?" "Honey, you've been underestimating me for 32 years. Did you really think I'd plan a revenge that would just wash away?" By Friday, the cracks in Robert and Jessica's relationship were starting to show. I overheard another phone call. They were arguing. "I can't keep taking time off work to clean glitter, Robert. My apartment looks like a craft store exploded." "Well, what do you want me to do? I'm paying for professional cleaners. I've bought new clothes. I even had my car detailed twice. Maybe we should take a break until you figure this out." "A break? Jess, come on. This is just a weird coincidence. Some kind of prank, maybe." "A prank? Robert, I found glitter in my coffee maker this morning. In my coffee maker. This isn't normal." "Look, I'll figure this out. Just give me some time." "Time? Robert, it's been a week. My landlord is threatening to evict me because glitter is getting into the other apartments through the ventilation system. My car looks like a disco ball. I can't live like this." I could hear the frustration in both their voices. The passionate affair was becoming a glittery burden, and Jessica was starting to realize that Robert's problems had become her problems. Perfect. But I wasn't done yet. Oh no, I had one more surprise planned. Something that would expose Robert's affair to everyone who mattered, while making sure the glitter became a permanent part of his reputation. It was time for the grand finale, and what happened next would break the internet. Friday afternoon, exactly 1 week after my glitter deployment, I put the final phase of my plan into motion. Robert had a big presentation that day, a potential client worth millions to his firm. The Hartwell Corporation, looking for a new accounting firm to handle their expansion. I knew about this meeting because I'd been hearing Robert stress about it for weeks. It was the kind of client that could set his firm up for years, the kind of deal that would cement his reputation in the business community. It was also the perfect opportunity to destroy him publicly. I'd been monitoring the office building's ventilation system schedule. Yes, I'd become that thorough. The HVAC system was due for its weekly maintenance cycle at 3 p.m., right in the middle of Robert's presentation. When those fans kicked into high gear to circulate fresh air through the building, my glitter surprise in the vents would create a golden snowstorm. But I had one more element to add to the chaos. That morning, I did something I'd never done before. I created a TikTok account. Revenge at 60 seemed appropriate. Now you might wonder how a 60-year-old woman knew about TikTok. Well, remember those teaching skills I mentioned? I'd been tutoring kids online during the pandemic, and they'd taught me all about social media. They thought it was hilarious that Mrs. Thompson wanted to learn about TikTok. Little did they know I was planning to use it for revenge. I'd been watching TikTok for weeks, studying how these viral revenge videos worked. The key was documentation, storytelling, and timing. People loved a good revenge story, especially when it involved a cheating spouse getting their comeuppance. I filmed myself in my kitchen, the same kitchen where Robert had humiliated me a week ago. Hi everyone, I'm Margaret. I'm 60 years old, and last week I discovered my husband of 32 years has been cheating on me with his secretary. When I confronted him, he told me I could get my revenge if it made me feel better. So I did. And honey, he's about to find out just how creative a woman my age can be. I showed the empty glitter containers, explained my strategy, and promised a follow-up video showing the results. Then I posted it and waited. The video got 50,000 views in the first hour. By noon, it had hit 500,000. The comments were incredible. Women sharing their own stories, cheering me on, calling me their revenge queen. This woman is my hero. Finally, someone who fought back. I'm taking notes for when my husband inevitably disappoints me. The audacity, the creativity, the power. But the real show was about to begin. At this point, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt completely powerless in your own life? Like someone else was controlling your story? Drop a comment and let me know, because what happened next changed everything for me. At 2:45 p.m., I positioned myself in the coffee shop across from Robert's office building. I had a perfect view of the conference room windows on the third floor. I could see Robert setting up his presentation, adjusting his tie, trying to look professional despite the faint shimmer of glitter that still clung to his hair. The Hartwell Corporation executives arrived right on time, 3 serious-looking people in expensive suits. Robert greeted them with his biggest smile, the same charming smile that had won me over in college. At exactly 3 p.m., the building's HVAC system kicked into high gear. What happened next was beautiful. A cloud of gold glitter erupted from the air conditioning vent directly above the conference table. It swirled through the air like a magical tornado, coating everything and everyone in the room. I watched through the window as Robert's presentation materials became sparkly confetti, as the Hartwell executives looked around in shock and confusion, as my husband stood frozen in the middle of his golden nightmare. But that wasn't the best part. I'd timed my entrance perfectly. As the glitter settled and Robert tried desperately to explain what was happening, I walked into the building carrying a box of important documents that Robert had forgotten at home. Frank the security guard waved me through, just like always. I took the elevator to the 3rd floor and knocked on the conference room door. "Excuse me," I said, opening the door to reveal the glittery chaos inside. "Robert, you forgot these contracts at home." The scene was even better up close. Robert was covered head to toe in gold glitter, looking like a very panicked disco ball. The Hartwell executives were brushing sparkles off their suits, their expressions ranging from confusion to barely contained laughter. The conference table looked like a craft store had exploded on it. "Margaret!" Robert's voice cracked. "What are you doing here?" "Just bringing you those contracts, dear. Oh my, what happened in here? It looks like there was some kind of celebration?" One of the Hartwell executives, a woman in her 50s, was trying not to smile. "Mr. Thompson, is this some kind of unique presentation technique?" That's when I decided to go for the kill. "Oh, this must be related to Robert's recent lifestyle changes," I said pleasantly. "You see, my husband has been exploring new arrangements. Apparently glitter is involved. I'm still learning about his hobbies myself." Robert's face went white under the gold sparkles. "Margaret, what are you? I mean, when a man starts spending Friday afternoons at hotels with his secretary, you never know what kind of activities they might be into. Craft projects, apparently." The silence in that room was deafening. The Hartwell executives looked from Robert to me and back again, understanding dawning on their faces. "I should let you get back to your meeting," I continued. "Robert, don't forget, Jessica called earlier. Something about needing help cleaning glitter out of her apartment again?" She sounded frustrated. I set the box of contracts on the sparkly table and walked out, leaving Robert to face the consequences of his choices. As I waited for the elevator, I could hear raised voices from the conference room. The Hartwell executives were not happy about being caught in the middle of a marital drama. Their $1 million deal was walking out the door, covered in glitter and scandal. The elevator doors closed, and I smiled. Phase 1 of my revenge was complete. But the real fireworks were just beginning. By the time I got home, my TikTok was exploding. The first video had hit 2 million views, and the comments were pouring in faster than I could read them. "Queen, this is the energy I need in my life." "Ma'am, you are an icon, teaching us all how it's done." I'm 35 and taking notes. This woman is my hero. The way she walked into that meeting? Iconic. Someone give this woman a Netflix special. I posted a follow-up video from my kitchen, still in the same clothes I'd worn to Robert's office. Update everyone. The presentation did not go well. Apparently, glitter and million-dollar business deals don't mix. Who knew? The second video went even more viral than the first. Within hours, I had 100,000 followers. By the end of the week, it was 500,000. News outlets started picking up the story. I was getting interview requests from morning shows, podcasts, even a documentary filmmaker. But the best part? The comments from other women sharing their own stories of betrayal and revenge. I'd accidentally started a movement. This inspired me to finally leave my cheating husband. I'm 45 and you've shown me it's never too late to fight back. My husband saw this video and suddenly became very attentive. Coincidence? And here's what I want to know from you. What's the most creative way you've ever stood up for yourself? Because sometimes we need to hear these stories to find our own courage. Robert came home that evening, looking like a defeated man. The Hartwell Corporation had walked out of his presentation, taking their million-dollar contract with them. Word was spreading through the business community about the glitter incident and the marital drama behind it. "Margaret, we need to talk." "Of course, dear. How was your day?" He stared at me, and I could see him trying to figure out how much I knew, how much I'd planned. "You did this. Somehow, you did all of this." "Did what, Robert? I brought you some contracts you forgot." "The glitter, Margaret. The timing, that speech about Jessica. You orchestrated all of this." I smiled. "Robert, you told me I could get my revenge. I'm just following your advice. But how? How did you know about the ventilation system? How did you time it so perfectly? Honey, I've been organizing your business events for 30 years. Did you think I didn't pay attention to how buildings work?" Over the next few days, the consequences kept mounting. 3 more clients canceled their contracts, citing concerns about professionalism. Robert's business partners were asking questions about his judgment. The local newspaper ran a story about the glitter revenge that had gone viral, complete with photos of Robert's sparkly office. And Jessica? She'd stopped answering his calls. But what happened next would shock everyone, including me. But the real torture was the glitter itself. Robert hired cleaning service after cleaning service, spending thousands of dollars trying to eliminate every last sparkle. But glitter is eternal. It's the craft herpes of the art world. Once you have it forever. He'd find it in his coffee cup in the morning, in his socks, in his briefcase, in his car's air vents. 8 months later, he was still discovering new deposits of gold sparkle in impossible places. The worst part? Every time he found glitter, he was reminded of his betrayal, of the moment he dismissed me as a powerless housewife, of the affair that had cost him everything. Jessica, meanwhile, had moved to another state. Apparently, the glitter had spread to her apartment so thoroughly that she'd decided a fresh start in a glitter-free environment was her only option. She'd left Robert a note saying she couldn't handle the chaos and needed to find herself somewhere that didn't sparkle. "I thought I was in love," she wrote, "but I realize now I was just caught up in the excitement of something forbidden." This glitter situation has shown me what kind of man you really are, someone who creates problems and expects others to clean them up. I deserve better. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. 3 months after the glitter incident, I got a message on TikTok from a woman named Sarah. She'd seen my videos and wanted to share her own story. Her husband had been cheating with his business partner, and she'd been inspired by my revenge to take action. But Sarah's revenge was different. She'd used my story as inspiration to start documenting her husband's lies, gathering evidence, and building a case for divorce that would leave him with nothing. "You showed me that I didn't have to be a victim," she wrote. "I could fight back." Soon, I was getting messages from women all over the world. They were calling themselves the Glitter Army and sharing their own stories of standing up to cheating spouses, abusive bosses, and anyone who tried to diminish them. I'd accidentally started a global movement of women refusing to stay quiet. Robert was alone, covered in the consequences of his choices. As for me, I was discovering who I was when I wasn't defined by being Robert's wife. The TikTok fame led to opportunities I'd never imagined. A book deal to write about my experience, speaking engagements at women's conferences, a partnership with a craft company to create a line of revenge glitter, biodegradable, extra fine, and guaranteed to stick to everything. But most importantly, I started my own business, Sparkle and Shine Events, a party planning company specializing in celebrations of new beginnings, divorce parties, job promotion parties, I'm finally free parties. My specialty? Tasteful glitter decorations that celebrated women taking control of their lives. My first client was Linda Morrison from Book Club, who was finally leaving her emotionally abusive husband. We threw her a freedom party that was so beautiful, so empowering, that photos of it went viral on Instagram. "Margaret planned the most amazing celebration of my new life," Linda posted. "She understands what it means to reclaim your power." Within 6 months, I was booked solid. Women were driving from 3 states away to have me plan their liberation celebrations. I was featured in magazines, interviewed on podcasts, even invited to speak at business conferences about reinventing yourself after betrayal. The irony wasn't lost on me. Robert had told me I had no skills, no income potential, no independence. Now I was making more money than he ever had, doing something I loved, helping other women find their strength. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. A year after the glitter incident, Robert came to me with divorce papers. He looked older, defeated, still occasionally sparkling in direct sunlight. "I'll give you the house," he said. "Half the business assets. Whatever you want. I just want this to be over." "What about Jessica?" I asked. "Jessica's gone. She's engaged to someone else now. Someone who doesn't come with complications." I signed the papers without hesitation. After 32 years of marriage, it took less than an hour to legally end our relationship. "Margaret," Robert said as he prepared to leave, "I need to ask, how did you know? About the glitter, I mean. How did you know it would be so permanent?" I smiled. "Robert, you spent 32 years underestimating me. Did you really think I'd plan a revenge that would just wash away? But the research, the timing, the social media? I never knew you had it in you." "That's the problem, Robert. You never bothered to find out what I had in me. You just assumed I was nothing without you." He left that day, still finding glitter in his hair. But here's the part that really changed my life. 6 months after the divorce was final, I got a call from a production company. They wanted to make a documentary about my story, about how one woman's revenge had inspired a global movement of women standing up for themselves. The documentary, Glitter and Grace, The Margaret Thompson Story, premiered at Sundance and won 3 awards. It's now streaming on Netflix, and I get messages every day from women who say it changed their lives. Today, I'm 61 years old, and I've never been happier. My business is thriving, my TikTok has 2 million followers, and I'm writing my second book about reinventing yourself after betrayal. I live in a beautiful apartment downtown, decorated exactly how I want it. I travel when I want to travel, eat what I want to eat, and make decisions based on what makes me happy, not what makes someone else comfortable. I've learned to salsa dance, taken up painting, and even started dating again. Turns out, there are plenty of men who appreciate a woman with spirit and independence. Robert? Last I heard, he was still finding glitter in unexpected places. His new apartment, his new car, even his new girlfriend's house. Apparently, some glitter had transferred to his belongings and continues to spread like a sparkly virus. But here's the thing that makes me happiest. I didn't just get revenge on Robert. I got my life back. I rediscovered my power, my voice, my ability to fight for myself. And sometimes, late at night, when I'm planning another woman's freedom party, I think about that Tuesday morning when my world fell apart. I think about the woman I was, quiet, accommodating, willing to accept whatever scraps of respect my husband threw my way. That woman is gone. In her place is someone stronger, someone who knows her worth, someone who refuses to be dismissed or diminished, someone who learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't just getting even, it's getting everything you deserve. And honey, I deserve to sparkle. If this story gave you the courage to stand up for yourself, to refuse to accept less than you deserve, then it was worth every single piece of glitter. Drop a comment and tell me, what would you have done? And if you're going through your own betrayal, remember, you're stronger than you know, and you deserve better than someone who doesn't see your worth. Hit that subscribe button if you want to hear more stories about women who refuse to stay quiet. And remember, life's too short to let anyone dim your sparkle. Which city are you listening from today? I love seeing where you're tuning in from. And if this story gave you strength, a super thanks keeps these stories coming and helps me share more tales of women who fought back and won. At what point in this story did you know Robert was going to get exactly what he deserved? Because sometimes the universe has a funny way of making sure karma comes full circle, even if it takes 20 pounds of glitter to make it happen.